The President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Counsels for Nuon Chea may now proceed with the questions they would wish to put to the witness. However, before counsel for Nuon Chea proceed, the chamber would like to note with regard to counsel for Nuon Chea, Mr. Michael Pesman. This morning, before we broke, he showed signs of stubbornness, and he now should be informed that the questions shall be relevant to the facts at issue and try to refrain from behaving like in this morning session. If you have no further questions to put to the witness, you are advised to inform the chamber so that we proceed to other counsels to put questions in order not to waste our time and so that we can expedite the proceedings. Once again, we will strive to ensure that the proceedings are expeditious and that parties will be refrained from being on their feet to make any comments that are too long, and that they should not have the floor to do that, because they are here to put questions to the witness, the questions that are relevant to the paragraphs, the alleged facts in the paragraph as indicated in the indictment. And with regard to other relevant facts or other witnesses, the chamber would wish to inform the parties at a later date. But again, at this moment, the questions shall be in the confinement of the case file 002/1 only. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you very much for your remarks, Mr. President. First of all, for the record, I would like to note that before the break, you prevented me from asking questions which were intended to challenge the credibility of this client. That is a clear violation of my client's right to challenge and to test the credibility of evidence presented in court against him. With regards to your comment about my stubbornness, I take that as a compliment. I don't think that is necessarily a bad characteristic for a defense lawyer. Having said that, I will continue to my next topic.
The President, indeed you are not allowed to make any further statement on this, and you should now proceed immediately to the substantive questions, the questions that are relevant to the facts. You have already been advised time and again, and that if you keep moving into the questions that are outside the substantive questions, then the chamber will take it as that you have no further questions, and then the floor will be given to the other counsels to put questions to the witness.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to avoid any misunderstanding, I do have other questions and other topics I would like to cover. I will inform the court as soon as I've finished with my questioning. I would like to show the witness a document which was shown by my colleague this morning. It's the well-known organogram with number D91/22. It's the document showing the structure or the alleged structure of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I am asking for permission to put it on the screen, and I understand and I can see that the witness has a copy of the document.
The President, you may proceed.
First of all, Mr. Witness, there is a red box around the name of Ket Chun, also called Mut. Is that the person you were referring to yesterday when you discussed the visit of Professor Caldwell and two other foreign journalists, or two foreign journalists, to Phnom Penh? Do you remember mentioning his name?
Response. The names I mentioned I did so because I noted the content of the report I forwarded to the upper echelon, in which my name and Mut appeared. At that time, the people who were engaged in escorting various groups of visitors were including Mut as well. And since Khan and Mut were included, I believe that Mut must be His Excellency Kiet Chun. And to make sure we are clear, I also indicated that I know there was another group who also escorted the visitors, chaired by Brother Prasit. Prasit was also named Chun Prasit. So I just want to make sure that this message was not misquoted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. What were Ket Chun's tasks at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Response. I do not understand the real functions or tasks he had, but every now and then I noted that he worked as an interpreter and also engaged in the group who received visitors. I don't know in which structure he belonged.
Thank you. Was one of his tasks not also taking notes of important meetings?
Response. Are you asking me the question? I don't think I understand it. Please repeat it.
Mr. Witness, do you know whether Kate Chun was also tasked with the taking of notes of important meetings?
Response. I noted in general that people who could speak foreign languages, who could take notes, there were a lot of them, not necessarily Kitchen alone. And when it comes to important notes or minutes, I don't think I know this very much, because I was confined to only the area where I do not know much about that.
Thank you. I highlighted another person in the organogram which you have in front of you, and that other person is Ho Nam Hung. He was, I understand, first ambassador to Cuba, and he was later transferred to, according to the organogram, Office B32. B32 was part of Bung Trabek camp. Did you know, Mr. Witness, that Ho Nam Hung was chairman of the Bung Trabek camp?
The President. Witness, please hold on. Co-prosecutor, you are now on your feet. You may now proceed.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. That question is manifestly suggestive. There were 3 pieces of information that were included in that question. Firstly, the information concerning Mr. Ho Nam Hung, and the fact that he worked at Bung Trabek and that he presided at B2. I believe that this is a fair amount of information that is wrapped up in one single question. I would suggest to counsel that he proceed step by step so that it's clearly understood by the witness and by all parties.
I will rephrase my question, Your Honour. Mr. Witness, do you know what Ho Nam Hung's role was at the Bung Trabek camp?
Response. First, I don't know Mr. Ho Nam Hung. Secondly, since I don't know him, I don't know what he did. His role, for example, is not knowledgeable to me. So in general, I can say that I don't know him. I don't know what he did.
Did you know, Mr. Witness, that towards the end of the CPK period, 1978, beginning of 1979, Ho Nam Hung was given a villa near Independence Monument to live in?
The President, witness, is instructed not to respond to the question because you already indicated that you don't know Mr. Hao Nam Hong and you know nothing about the functions of Mr. Hao Nam Hong. Counsel, you may proceed to another questions, and you should not put the same question concerning this individual as witness does not know him.
Mr. President, before I proceed, I would just like to emphasize that the fact that this client doesn't know who he is doesn't mean that he didn't know where this particular person lived. I will go on to another topic. I would like to show the witness the document numbered D366 stroke 7.1.473. I understand he was already given a copy of this particular document, and my case manager is putting the document on the screen. No.
The President, Counsel, could you advise the Chamber whether the document has already been requested to be put before the Chamber or not, and whether you has already received permission that the document should be put before the Chamber before you proceed to put question to the witness?
Thank you, Mr. President. My answer is that I do not know whether this document is on any of the lists submitted by the other parties. What I do know that it is put on the interface before the weekend, and this particular document is also annexed to the submission we filed, I believe, Monday afternoon.
The President, this document is instructed to be removed from the screen for now, and the Chamber would like to ask Counsel for Nuon Chea to inform Counsel for Nuon Chea that whenever a document is only presented in the interface, it is not significant according to the procedures before the Chamber. The Chamber has already informed the parties concerning the procedures with regard to how the document is being put before the Chamber, both orally and in writing. The document concerning this was also submitted to parties on the 24th of May 2012, and with regard to the list of documents, party who would like to proceed with the request for these documents to be submitted has to follow internal rules 87.4 of the internal rules as the guidance, and the Chamber also notes that you have not followed the procedural formality as prescribed under Rule 87.4 regarding the document you would wish to be put before the Chamber for this witness.
Mr. President, I believe you're not well informed. We did file a submission on Monday, which included a request to allow us to use this particular document as well as all the other documents put on the interface. But I am aware that we received an email. Would you like me to continue, or would you like to?
The President, time and again, Council still behaves in the same way. If Council is not happy with this, Council may file an appeal to the Supreme Court or the Supreme Court Chamber. Do you have any other substantive questions to be put to the witness? We already informed you that if you try to obstruct the proceedings and that you have no further substantive questions, the Chamber would proceed to other councils to put questions to the witness.
I have not finished with my questions yet, but I have serious problems understanding your decision. I did file a submission, a request to allow us to use those documents on Monday. As I said, I'm aware that the senior legal officer returned the request and
the President, the Chamber has already ruled upon this, and time again you are supposed to follow the instruction, and with regard to the documents, they have to be precisely put before the Chamber in accordance with the procedures in place. And again, document put on the interface were only part of the documents to be proposed to be put before the Chamber in the future. However, if party has failed to request formally according to the procedures before the Chamber before the document is put, then the document is not allowed to be put for the debate now. And again, the Chamber ruled already, you cannot put questions with reference to the document that we just discussed.
Mr. President, I'm puzzled, and I don't want to give up yet. We did file a submission. It's not only, this document is not only an interface, it's also annexed to a...
The President, the Chamber takes that you have no further questions. Your time has run out. We now proceed to counsels for Ieng Sari to put questions to the witness. Counsels for Ieng Sari, you may now proceed.
Mr. President, I have not finished with my...
The President, we has already ruled that you have no further floor to put questions to this witness. Your time has already run out, and that the floor is now handed over to counsel for Ieng Sari. You are now allowed to be seated. The President, we made it clear that you are not allowed to use this floor to make any statement or other irrelevant observation. If you attempt to make further lengthy statement, you may do so by following the procedures before the chamber as in practice. Counsels for Ieng Sari, you may now proceed. Counsel Angadam. Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors, my learned colleagues, everyone in and around the courtroom. Good morning, Mr. Nikon. I am Angadam, co-defense counsel for Mr. Ieng Sari. I am here to put a few questions to you. My first question concerns the organizational structure, and the document is in your hand, and I believe that my questions are new questions and they are not repetitive. With Mr. President Liu, may this same document be put up on the screen? The President, you may proceed. The President, Counsel is advised to read out the identification of the document for the purpose of the transcript. Counsel, this document is D9122. Rather 91/22. Mr. Nikon, according to the transcript of the hearing in which you testified during the last few days, and with regard to the work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you indicated that you was placed in a box called protocol box, and that your superior was Mr. Chiem. So this means that you were the subordinate, or you were subordinate to Mr. Chiem. Do you still stand by this statement? Response. First, I am an individual who was in charge of a small section of protocol receiving visitors, and Mr. Chiem was the head of the department. I was instructed by Mr. Chiem.
Thank you. Based on the transcript of your testimony on the 29th, on the Khmer page and line 14 and 15, It is not available in French or in English, and I would like to read it out for you. Question and answer. The question goes, who was your direct superior at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And you said your direct superior was the director of the department. And two, then that director was the one who designated him with the task, and Chiem was that direct superior. So my question is, do you stand by this testimony that Mr. Chiem was your immediate supervisor? Response. As I said a bit earlier on, I received instruction directly from Mr. Chiem. Question. You also said in your testimony that you received instruction and order from Mr. Chiem, and you also told the court that when you reported to the upper authority, you had to report it to Chiem. Do you maintain this statement? Response. That was the working procedure back then. Upon my return from accompanying visitors to other places, I had to report it to Chiem. And again, the outcome of the foreign visitor visit, I had to report to Chiem as well, and Chiem reported to other individuals whom I did not know. Question. So if we look at the organizational structure being displayed on the screen before you, so if you look at this structure, you are at the parallel level with Mr. Chiem. So it suggests that your responsibility between you and Mr. Chiem were parallel. Do you think that this structure accurately reflects your responsibility in actuality back then? Response. I have repeated in my answer previously, and you may not have followed my answer. I said in my successive answers that I was part of the protocol department, and I was transferred to this department for some other reason which I did not know other than the fact that I could read and write. And then I was placed under the immediate supervision of Chiem, and there was no official decisions that my position was parallel to that of Chiem. But in my understanding, my level must not by any means equal to that of Chiem. But according to this diagram, I don't know what whether or not this document was prepared by somebody else, and then my name was at the parallel level with that of Jim, and I did not accept this document because my level back then was far lower. I could not even go along with Mr. Jim to attend other important meetings. I normally stay outside of the meeting room and I listen to the direction of Mr. Jim. So in short, my position was by no means equal to that of Mr. Jim. Thank you. So all in all, are you suggesting that this organizational structure does not accurately reflect your position back then? As I said earlier, that I only saw this structure when the Office of Co-Investigating Judges presented it to me. And I repeated in my earlier testimony that if you wanted to know about my role and responsibility, and if there was any question concerning my equivalent position to that of Mr. Jim, I categorically deny that because it was not accurate. Thank you. So I would now like to move on to the next topic. Now I would like to base my question on the record of interview, your record of interview, document D91/22. I would like to seek leave from the chamber to present this document to the witness and have it put up on the screen. The President, the document is still there on the screen. It is document D91/22, so it's already on the screen. Thank you, says the counsel. The President. Assistant, please make sure that the document is displayed on the screen. Mr. President, is it the same document or a different document? What is the identity of this document? Counsel, document D91/22, dated the 13th of December 2007. It is the record of interview of witness. Thank you. Mr. Nikon. When you responded to the question by the Office of Co-Investigating Judges on the 13th of December 2007, and this record of interview is being displayed on the screen, at that time the Office of Co-Investigating Judges asked you as follows. This is based on the record, this record of interview. Khmer EON 0020 4132. English EON 007, rather 00204132. That is the Khmer EON English 00 70 2361262. French EON 00 5293 42243. At that time, the investigator asked you the following question. I would like to read the question out. Can you tell us about a number of Khmer diplomats who were removed from the foreign countries to Cambodia, such as diplomat Miet Tuj, alias Kam, an ambassador to Laos, Mr. Hut Sambat, and Mr. Unlon, alias Nat. Later, they were jailed in S21 after the removal. And the question was, did the leaders at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs learn about this, and who were the leaders? And in response to this question, you said, I worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a very short time. You have shown me the structure of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and you said you did not know them. So you did not know the names of the above diplomats. And you continue for the arrest and reshuffle of the diplomats. It was decided by the leadership. And the leadership includes the senior leaders, namely the uncles such as Pol Pot, alias Tapol, Nuon Chia, alias Tanuan, Ieng Sari, alias Tawan, and Khieu Sampon. And you said you never met those senior leaders. On this particular portion of the interview, my question is, when the senior cadres attended or convened a meeting to decide on the matter, did you take part in the meeting? Response. Your question is whether or not I had attended meetings with those senior leaders, and it was actually relevant to the previous question I have answered over the past few days. I was a lower level cadres, so I was not in the authority to attend such meeting because it was the meeting of the leadership. Thank you. Question. So it is fair to say that you had never attended such meeting. So is that correct? The President, the witness need not answer this question because the witness has already answered. The counsel may proceed to the next question. Thank you, says the counsel. Question. You said you had never attended meetings with the senior leaders. How about the minutes of the meeting, or the summary of the minutes of the meeting, or any other relevant reports of the meetings? Did you ever receive such report or minutes, and did you ever read it? Response. Obviously, this question is beyond my knowledge. The internal meeting of higher level cadres, I had never received a copy, and neither had I read them. The President, Counsel, please make sure that your microphone is activated. Question. You said you had never read the minutes or report. So my next question is, did you ever learn about the content of the meeting from someone else, says your brother? Response. I consider this a good opportunity when you ask me this question. I have mentioned it time and again over the last few days that there was a principle of utmost or absolute secrecy. Even the close or immediate family members must not share each other the content of the meeting. So even if I was the brother of Mr. Son Sin and our work were completely different, so we did not share any information. Thank you. Since you never attended meetings with senior leaders, and neither did you ever read the reports or minutes of the meetings, and no one else share with you the content of the meetings of the senior leaders. Is it correct then to say that it was only your mere speculation that the arrest or the removal of diplomats was the decision of the senior leaders? Is it correct to say that it was your pure speculation of that? The President, the witness need not ask this question because this is a leading question. Counsel is advised to reframe the question so that it is appropriate in accordance with the established procedures before us. Counsel. So based on your earlier testimony, particularly with your reason answer, it was entirely based on your speculation. Is that correct? The President, the witness need not answer this question because, again, this question is leading by nature. And the Chamber has already advised the Counsel that the question be rephrased. And Counsel should refrain from posing a leading question to the witness. Thank you, says the Counsel. So concerning your statement, did you base your answer on any other reliable source of information? Response. No, I didn't. Thank you. Counsel. So your statement with the Office of Co-Investigating Judges back then that the removal or the arrests of the foreign diplomats was the decision of the leaders. What was the basis for your assumptions that that was the decision of the senior leaders? Response. I based my answer on the reality which was known that it was the internal matters, and those internal matters was decided by the senior leaders. And people at my level or others who were at a parallel level as mine could not make any decision. And in addition, we did not even know what the decision was like. Thank you. So you said that you relied your answer on the reality. Can you please elaborate, because I do not really understand what you mean by this? The President. Counsel, please rephrase your last question, because it is likely that the witness does not fully understand your question. What is your question really? Counsel, I would like to rephrase the question. You said that you based your answer on the reality. So my question is, for those senior leaders, when they made any decision, for example, decision to remove or to arrest any any diplomats, so how did they come up with that decision? Response: I could only answer to the best of my knowledge. And particularly what I saw as an actual practice at the time. They distinguished the operational work and the internal matters. At the operational level, I handle my task as assigned, but when it came to the internal matters, it was the decision of the upper authority, and internal matters as such is a very important decision to be made when it comes to arresting those people. The decision must come from the leaders. Thank you. When I asked you to clarify, when you said that you based your answer based on what you saw, based on you noted the practice at that time. But you also said that you had never attended meetings, and neither had you read any minutes of the meeting or report as such. How did you know about the decision made by the senior leaders concerning the matter?
Response. Mr. President, I feel I do not understand the question, and I feel that the question is somehow repetitive. And as I indicated, I did not saw the documents. I only witnessed what being implemented. The light work was decided within the administration, but when it came to the internal affairs, the decision had to be made from the upper echelon. And that's all I could say. The President interrupts. Thank you, witness, and thank you, counsel. It is now appropriate time for lunch adjournment. The chamber will adjourn until 1:30 p.m. Court officer is now instructed to ensure that the witness is properly accommodated during this break time, and that his duty counsel also should be well assisted, and make sure that the witness is returned to the courtroom by 1:30. Counsel for Mr. Nuon Chia, you may now proceed. Counsel Sonarona, as usual, Mr. Nuon Chia health condition is not good, and he has requested that he be permitted to observe the proceedings from downstairs. He asked that he be excused from the main courtroom. The President, thank you, Counsel. Please be seated. The Chamber has noted the request of Nuon Chea through his counsel. Nuon Chea has requested that he be excused from this courtroom and be allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell. By that, he has waived his rights to be present in the courtroom due to his health. The Chamber therefore grants such request. Mr. Nuon Chea is now allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell for the remainder of the day. Counsels for Nuon Chea are advised to produce this waiver signed or given some print by accused person Mr. Nuon Chea, and AV officers are now instructed to ensure that the holding cell is well connected with the video audio link so that Mr. Nuon Chea can observe the proceedings from his holding cell. Security personnel are instructed to bring Nuon Chea and Mr. Khieu Samphan to the holding cells and have only Mr. Khieu Samphan return to the courtroom in the afternoon session before 1:30 p.m. The court is adjourned.